My favorite fish to catch has always been the smallmouth bass, and one of the most productive techniques for catching smallmouth is the ability to fish a hair jig. So today, we're going to take my Jim Crowley Signature Series rod kit exclusively from Mudhole, and we're going to build the hair jig rod right here on the Angler's Workshop. The first step in building any fishing rod for me is to be able to find the backbone of that rod. And the easiest way to do that is to take the butt of the rod, put it on a hard surface like this table, and then I'm going to roll it back and forth in my hand. And you're going to feel it lock right there. There it is right there. Okay, now I'm going to put my thumb on that spot. I'm going to take a China marker and I am going to mark on that blank. Now, that's the backbone where I found it, where it felt the most comfortable to me. Now, if I was building a bait cast rod, I'm going to build on the top part of that blank where I marked it. But since I'm building a spinning rod, I'm going to build on the bottom part of that blank. All of my Jim Crowley Signature Series rod kits come with everything you need to build the rod exactly the way that I do. And the first step after I find the spine of the rod is I want to install the reel seat and the split grips. Now, since I'm using the cork split grips, I'm going to have to ream these split grips out so they're just a little bit bigger than a rod blank. So I'm going to use some of the reamers from the CRB reaming kit to get those cork grips exactly how I want them. Let's do that now. Whenever you ream out cork grips, start with the smallest reamer first and then work your way up. You can use a hand reamer, or as I have, I've just attached it to a drill. Now we're going to use a two-part adhesive called Pro Paste, and we're going to take equal parts from each container and we're going to mix it together. This is going to be the adhesive that is going to hold on the rear grips as well as the reel seat. So I'm going to mix this together to get a consistency. It's kind of like a dull tannish yellow color. That's about the best that I can explain it. And just keep mixing it together till you feel both parts are mixed together. And then what we're going to do is we're going to apply it on the rod blank, and I'm going to show you how to set up the grips. We're going to do the grips first, and then we're going to do the reel seat. And here's the consistency that you want. And now we're just going to apply it onto the rod blank. Now, to help me measure exactly where I want my butt cap, I've taken one of the winding checks that are also provided in the kit and put it on the blank. That way I know exactly where to put the adhesive and I know exactly where my rod bit goes. Now I'm just spreading the adhesive over the end where I'm going to put the butt cap. Once I think I have it coated the way I want it, then I'm just going to take the butt cap and we're going to slide it up on there. But what I'm going to do is whenever I slide grips and even the reel seat, I'm always going to turn. This way what I'm doing is I'm spreading out that adhesive so I make sure that it gets through the entire piece that I want on the rod. I'm getting pretty close right there. Now I've got a little extra right here, and so I'm always going to have some paper towel with isopropyl alcohol on there, and I'm just going to wipe some of that off. Just wipe off the extra. There we go. Getting it right on there. And just continue to wipe that off a little bit. Always have plenty of paper towel and some isopropyl alcohol, especially when you first start building. Trust me, it's going to be your friend. There you go. Okay. That's the first part right there. And now we're going to stick on the butt cap All right, I'm just going to finish putting a little bit more of the adhesive right here on the end. That should do it. I don't mind having a little bit more. You can always clean that off. I'd rather have a little bit more than not enough. That's going to be more than enough. Now I'm just going to take that butt cap piece and do the same thing. We're going to turn just like that. Hey, look at that. I think we actually just have enough. Not hardly any came out, just a little bit right there. And there you go. There is your butt cap. Now let's work on the rear grip. I build all my rods with a 5-inch gap between the butt cap and where the rear grip will start. So to do that accurately, I take a measuring tape and I measure that 5 inches, and right at 5 inches is where I put another one of those winding checks. That way I know when I put the adhesive on, that is where my rear grip is going to slide up to for the perfect measurement. All right, we put all that adhesive on, and now we're going to do exactly what I said we do every time, is we're going to continue to turn that grip, and you'll actually feel it tightening in there as the adhesive spreads out. There we go. That's exactly how we want it. Now I've got my perfect measurement from 5 grips between the butt cap and the rear grip. Now what I'll do is I'll just clean up a little here. Again, put that isopropyl alcohol on there, clean that up. It's starting to shape up pretty good right there. Next step, now we put on that reel seat. Okay, now we're getting ready to install the reel seat. And to do that, I need to have something the reel seat can adhere to, because the circumference of the reel seat is broader than the rod blank. So to do that, I'm going to use this blue tape right here, like a painter's tape, and I'm going to build arbors. And this is about a 4-inch reel seat, and I'm going to use about 3 arbors. So I'm going to start right back against the rear grip right here, and I'm going to wrap around there until when I slide the reel seat on here, I can just feel it scraping a little bit, but I don't want it real snug. I need to leave enough room in there for the adhesive to work through that reel seat so it can attach itself to the arbors. So this one right here, I can just feel it. That's going to be good. I'm going to be sliding this back onto this rear grip once completed. But now I'm going to build the second arbor and the third arbor. And with every arbor, I am going to be testing constantly, moving back and forth that reel seat to make sure it gets to where I feel comfortable that there's going to be enough room between that tape and the reel seat itself for the adhesive to get in there and make it a solid contact. Because once it's on there, it's going to be like concrete. It's not moving, and that's exactly how you want it. So let's start on that second arbor. So now that we had our arbors in place, we simply put on more of the adhesive. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to turn that reel seat, and you can feel it getting tight already. Now remember your mark. There's my mark on the bottom of the rod right there. So on a spinning rod, I'm going to build those guides underneath right where that mark was. So my spinning reel is going to sit appropriately on here. Okay, there's my mark. Now I'm going to push it right up. There, that's it. That's looking pretty good. Now we're going to clean it up, and I'm going to show you what the reel seat and the grips look like on your hair jig rod. Now that came out great. There's your compressed carbon fiber reel seat and your split grips. Everything is completed, all shined up and looking good. We're going to let this dry overnight, and now the next step is going to be marking out the guides. Now that the reel seat and the grips have dried, the next thing is to mark out for the guides. And that's easy to do because every rod kit comes with a rod recipe. It shows you exactly where you mark out the guides. All you do is you lay out a tape measure, you match it from the tip, that's where you start, and you're going to start marking backwards toward the rear of the rod with the measurements that are provided in the rod recipe. Once you do that, then it's time to wrap the guides. All right, now I've got the rod on the power wrapper. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do the starting knot. That's what we do first to start getting the thread on the blank, and then we're going to wrap that first guide. All right, so now you can see where the line is right here, where the thread is. So I put it over that, then I'm going to come under once, and then I'm going to come back on the other side of that thread, and then we're going to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to step on my pedal, boom, and that ties a knot. Now I'm going to cut it right there, and there is your starting knot. Okay, now I encourage you to watch other rod building videos, especially the ones at mudhole.com, and I'll tell you why. I do it a little bit differently than other rod builders. Other rod builders do it differently. I'm just going to show you what works for me, but as I said, I encourage you to look at other rod building videos at mudhole.com because that will give you more things to choose from and help make you a better rod builder. All right, so what I did is I took the first microwave guide, this is the MW20s that I'm using, this guide set, and I put it underneath the first thread. And I'm lining that up with the bottom of the reel seat to make sure I have it straight. Now I'm just going to start to wrap slowly, like so. Now, after I get that done a little bit, I'm going to look back and see if I've got that lined up. Just about like that, and then I'm going to continue the wrap. All right, now I'm going to step on the pedal and continue to wrap. Now there's a little gap right here. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm just going to take my burnishing tool, and what I'm going to do is I just brush that thread together. That way it keeps it nice and even, and then we'll continue to wrap. There's that gap, so now we'll just press it over. Then just take your time. There's no need to rush. You're not in a hurry. All I'm going to do is continue to do that. Guide it over with my finger a little bit. Getting better there. A little more gap there. Get that out. A little more here. And there we go. Now I'm going to show you how to do a finishing knot. Okay, now to do a finishing knot, what I do, because it's easier for me to see, is I take a brighter piece of thread, take my razor blade. Now I'm going to make a loop, just like that. I'm going to put it underneath my thread, like so. And then I'm just going to turn about 4 or 5 times. There we go. Just like that. Now my loop is straight up. I'm going to cut the original thread that I'm wrapping with. I'm going to hold my finger to hold it in place, stick it through that loop, pull it out. Now it's inside the loop, and then I pull on the loop to pull it through. That finishes off my knot. Now I'm going to get it right to where I want it. Take my razor blade, trim. There you go. Now we're going to do that starting knot again. So I'm going to put the line over just like I have. Then I'm going to go once on this side of it, once on the other side of it, and then wrap 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to step on my pedal, and that just tied my knot. So I put that bright piece of thread underneath there again, and I'm just going to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4. That's good. I like that loop on top. That's the way it's easier for me to get to. I cut the thread again. Going to hold it tight on the back side with my finger. Stick it through the loop. Pull up on it. And then just pull through. There we go. And that is your finishing knot. So now that I get all the guides wrapped, I'm just going to try to line it up by eye. Everything looks pretty close, but I'm also going to use this little guide alignment tool, and this makes it really easy. So I'm just going to put it right inside the reel seat right here and tighten it up on there. And it's almost like looking down the sight of a rifle or a pistol. So I'm going to eye it up. Look at that. Lines everything up nice and easy. And if there's one that's a little bit off, there's one down here like the third one is a little bit. I just take it, move it over a little bit, check out my alignment again. There we go. We're ready to go. Makes it that simple and that easy. Now we're going to put on the first layer of epoxy. All right, now I'm going to mix up the two-part epoxy that I'm going to coat the guides with. So all the syringes are marked. I'm going to take this down to about 1.5. Squeeze that in. Now I'm going to do the same with the other part. Just make sure that drips down there. I don't want to get any air bubbles or anything. Okay, there we go. Perfect. 1.5. Now I've got 2 equal parts. And now what I'm going to do is just going to take a mixing stick and just mix these up. And I'm going to do this for about a count of 100, 150. That's just how I do it. What I'm looking for is I want to get as many of the air bubbles out of there as I can. And I want to make sure that I have a good consistency with both parts so they activate the proper way. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to add the epoxy onto the guide wraps. And it varies. People will use a heating dryer to have it dry faster. I enjoy the process. I just let it dry overnight. So I'm going to show you how to apply the first layer. We'll let that dry overnight, and then we'll continue and finish up that rod. All right, as I told you a little while earlier, everybody does it a little bit differently. I like putting 3 layers of epoxy on all my guides. And I've seen some people do it where they just put a light coat. When I first do it, I like to put a little bit of a heavier coat on there because I want to make sure that I get through the thread completely. So I'm going to let it turn as the epoxy spreads out on the guide. And we're getting there right now, getting to where this first layer is looking okay. Then I'm going to show you what I like it to look like. Drain a little bit more of it off here. And if I think I get a little bit much, then I kind of just shake the brush off in the cup there, pull a little more off. Now it's starting to look pretty good. Try to stay within the edges there. Again, you may just want to make sure, especially if this is the first time you're doing it, to have a piece of paper towel with the isopropyl alcohol just to wipe off any excess. But when it starts to get what I call a candy effect, now if you look at that right now, you can tell that that epoxy has gotten through that thread. It's starting to shine. That's what I call the candy effect. When it starts doing that, and I see that it's doing that from the front of where it's wrapped to the back, then I know that that's where I'm satisfied that that is the first layer. I'm going to let that dry overnight. Now, as this is turning, I'm just going to finish off the rest of the guides here, and then we'll be done till it dries, and then we'll come back with a second coat, and I'm going to show you how to install the tip top. So now I'm going to put the tip top on here, and the easiest way that I've done it, and again everybody does it different, is I just take a little bit of Loctite and put it on the end of the blank, just like so. You don't need a lot on here, just making sure that it goes on there good. And then I'm going to make sure that the tip top here lines up, and I'm going to turn it just like we did. I'm going to make sure that that adhesive is spread out good, and I'm going to line it up with the 2 guides, the one guide here, and then I can see the other one here. That way I know that I have it on there straight. That looks pretty good, and I'm going to let that sit for about 3 or 4 minutes. Make sure it adheres on there real good, and then I'm going to put the second layer of epoxy on the guides, and once I do that, I'm also going to epoxy over the end of this tip. That's going to seal it and waterproof it. Then all we have left to do is put the 3rd layer on, and your hair jig rod will be complete. And there you have it. My signature series hair jig rod is complete. This rod blank is also Great for those of you fishing a jig head minnow with forward-facing sonar. You'll love this rod kit for that as well. Now, Mudhole offers various rod kits, including my Jim Crowley Signature Series, that make it easy for the beginner as well as the advanced rod builder to build the best rod you've ever fished. So when you have a chance, head over to mudhole.com because they truly do have anything and everything when it comes to instruction and information on rod building. Until next time, may God bless you and keep you safe. I'm Jim Crowley. Thanks for watching The Angler's Workshop.